Ready Check Radio. What's up, Internet? It's Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That means it's time for the Relic Grind, Ready Check Radio's Final Fantasy XIV Square Enix podcast. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man. We've got a lot to cover, surprisingly. A lot of YoshiP interviews all over the place, as is the norm for following FanFest. But they kind of like took a week off and then all of a sudden splashed some more interviews out there. So we're going to go through all of that. We've got a lot to cover on the actual just Square Enix side of things, whether that be Final Fantasy VII Interguard that came out today, and what your thoughts might be on that. Some Dragon Quest XII info, and then maybe some not-so-good news for some well-known figures. We'll run it all down. Joining me to go over all of it, Mr. Chris Montoya, a.k.a. Tarkoth. How are you, sir?
Greetings, programs. I am doing fantabulous. Although this closed beta wants me to take a survey, and I'm not too hype on it. But we'll talk about that later.
Also on the line, Mr. Adam Lane, a.k.a. Kronos. What's up, you digital pixelated one?
Sorry, I don't know why I keep doing that.
It's all good.
But you left out the most important news. I got 150 mounts. Okay,
You did.
the
I saw the
reason
tweet.
start
I
with.
saw the screenshot verification.
Yeah, you got to verify, dude. You have to verify.
It has been
Verify.
validated. Beckett's is currently grading it right now. But you did do it. Congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
I still have more to get. It's not done yet.
You're a maniac. You're a
Yeah.
maniac. Absolute maniac. Well, gentlemen, I think we just get down to it. We've got chat hanging out here. If you're watching on YouTube, on ReadyCheckRadio.com, or listening on Spotify, I would encourage, if you have a moment, please head on over to ReadyCheckRadio.com, RAIDEO, in the upper right. Click on those socials. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Tell your friends. If you like what we do, that's how we keep doing more of it. That's the best way you can support us. Not asking for your dollars, just asking for your clicks. So go ahead and give a little subscribe action there. And if you can, make it to a live show Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/ReadyCheckRadio. Chat is ready to chime in with their opinions as we go here. So let's just get started with some Final Fantasy XIV news. This is kind of like the YoshiP interview roundup, right? We could cover like the last thing first, actually, because that's the only real like piece of news as far as Final Fantasy XIV itself goes. But Kronos, we did get today an announcement on the 14-hour broadcast. When is that coming? What can we expect?
So they scheduled it for July 9th. I think it's been delayed a few times now at this point, but it's actually coming on July 9th. I don't think you're going to expect too much Endwalker news, honestly. Like, I doubt you're going to get anything much of what we, like, other than what we already know. So they'll probably show a bunch of that stuff again. And then it'll probably just be them just, like, doing stuff with the community. Probably, like, maybe doing some, like, maybe it's some raids or something. YoshiP might show up on a server. And then, they'll probably talk about some other things. Unrelated to Endwalker. He might. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some cooking stuff. That seems to be like a thing that they like doing now.
Right.
Make some bread.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate because I think they had different plans for this event because it was supposed to happen prior to FanFest, prior to some other announcements. So they could have used it and they generally use it as an informal live letter and then a lot of community stuff. And that's great, but now with FanFest already having happened and all those things have already been spilled and spoiled and everything. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's probably just going to be more community focused, hanging out, little contests and events here and there. We'll definitely keep our eye on it. We got a month to prep, but I think I'm kind of with you. I don't really expect any info. It's not like I just expect a little bit. I don't expect any new information on this. Besides maybe Tark like showing off different art assets or screenshots that they haven't yet, I wouldn't expect anything more than that, really.
Probably not. What I'm interested in is to see what the challenge is this time. What are we going to do in this 14 hours? Southern Boston Front and Zadnor get to 125 in 14 hours and see if you can not get into Castrum. That seems to be a big issue right now.
A little bit. A little bit. Just a little bit. So yeah, that's like the only like news. The rest of this is all YoshiP interviews. So you got a month to prep for the 14-hour stream. So first up, let's go to Cultura Geek, not Cultura, Cultura Geek. And this one has to be translated, but luckily, not only does Google do that pretty well, but there's also an official translation on the interview itself. So we don't have to worry about like getting the idea of something wrong because we used Google Translate. Credit to Federico Lo Guidisi. I apologize if I butchered that. But let's get to it. So all of these were like kind of small too. It feels like he broke these up purposely over a bunch of platforms and only answered specific questions so that everybody had something a little bit different from everybody else. Which, as somebody that runs a website like mmobomb.com, I can appreciate that. I like that. Like everybody's headline gets a little bit different. This one, Targoth, the primary takeaway from this particular interview, was that like, hey, we do listen to player feedback. We do. Trust us. But we also have to balance that with longer-term development plans. And YoshiP actually kind of gives a little example to kind of bring that home on. We do hear what you say. We do want to make certain changes, but you might be looking at it very short-term as a player, where we have to look at it a little long-term as developers, and we got to balance those two images.
Absolutely. Let me quote from the article here because I found this very interesting. Because we plan the overall content, direction, pacing, and distribution of 14 a few years in advance, it's important for us to listen to everyone's voice. And I think that's really key. Is they got this plan, and they're setting goals here, and we're not seeing the things down the road. So the viewpoints of the players and the development / operations team are fundamentally different, but they do listen to us and try to incorporate it. That's why we got scythes, because people were clamoring for it, and it's like, okay, let's do a job that has a scythe for it. So it's nice that we know they listen to us. That's also why we got Male Vieira.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Bunny Boys is the bigger example there than Scythe.
And it's not just like some games we feel that maybe are more analytic driven. So I'm happy to be part of this community in this game because I know that the voices of the community are taken into account. Maybe not implemented everything, but we're listened to.
Yeah, Kronos, I had mentioned that he uses the tombstone example. He says people tend to provide feedback on short-term items that focus on the present, whereas we inevitably think about things on a much more longer-term basis. I'm afraid this might be an extreme example, but let's talk about Allegan tombstones. I'm sure you're aware there's a weekly cap. You can collect a maximum of 450 tombstones each week. Our players have different lifestyles and schedules, so on some days, somebody might be able to play enough to obtain 900, hypothetically, and some days they might not be able to get any. So I can understand why players would ask for weekly limits to be less strict, providing more leeway for players to collect these tombstones within what their schedule allows. However, if we go that route, there will be people who can fully upgrade their gear right away, and those who can only do so after a few weeks. As a result, there becomes a greater disparity in the gear between these players, creating then a severe disparity in item level between players doing the same content. When that happens, the gap between those who have the time and those who do not becomes greater and ultimately damages the community. So we can understand the one side of the debate if you look at it from the perspective of long-term operation of the game and avoiding disparity between players in the community. The weekly cap is a good system to have in place. This is one instance where it's difficult to accommodate a player request with no future consideration.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have an issue with the way they do tombstones. I know some people do, but like you said, like someone like me who plays a crap ton, I'm just gonna get all the gear in like 2 days, right?
Yeah.
And and that's probably not necessarily what they want. So there has to be some kind of solution to the problem. And then kind of to touch on like what Tark said, like I work in tech. I think you do too, Mike.
Yep.
Like it takes time to like implement these things. Like so if like they are taking feedback. I mean, we've seen it with things like Bozja coming from Eureka. I mean, they obviously took a lot of feedback there. And then you just have to see, you have to wait kind of a little bit before you can see their implementation of the feedback. Like everything just takes time. Like can't get some kind of instant gratification from a lot of these things. So I mean, it's cool to see that they're thinking about the tombstones. I'm not really sure how they're going to fix it though, or
Yeah.
I shouldn't say fix it because I don't really know if it's like too terribly important of a problem. I think more of the problem is just how stale like the gear system is, not necessarily the tombstones, like how you acquire the gear. It's more like the gear you're getting is kind of always the same. We're just looking at the same stats.
Yeah,
And
it is very old school in that like almost World of Warcraft Burning Crusade era type gathering of the tier set type deal. In that, I think there might be room for tweaking here as far as the way they're obtained. I don't necessarily have a problem with the caps. Yeah, fine. There are some weeks that I crush that on one day when it's brand new and I actually need to do it for the gear. And then the next week I might, just barely make it or slightly miss it just because my work schedule and doing these shows and all that stuff. I don't play it as often as I might like to. But it does kind of feel bad where you've got these three sources for them. And that's it, right? You do your roulettes, you do your Wanderer's Tales, and that's, and then these little side pockets of a couple here and a couple there. That can get stale. Yeah, I see what you're talking about where the process is get the stones, get the gear, get the stones, get the gear. I don't think that part becomes as monotonous if the first part of how you get the stones isn't already monotonous. Maybe that's just me, though.
No, I think that's a fair point. I think right now, once they introduce stuff like Eureka and Bozja, and the fact that you can cap in there makes it a little bit less monotonous. Yep. But like that doesn't exist until later into the patch cycle, right? Like those aren't things that are going to drop when the expansion drops.
Right.
So yeah, like you're not wrong. Like what you're saying is basically, I mean, when the expansion drops, the way we're going to cap is expert, and then when the raids drop, you can do your weekly raids and then expert, and then it's like. So it's like it slowly kind of builds up. But yeah, I think they definitely need more options. Because like right now, the way it works is once the expansion comes out, they're just going to dump everything into the old stuff. And that's only going to give you poetics. So
yeah. I did think they closed with an interesting question that I've never really seen asked. And I'm glad it was asked. And to shorten the question, it was basically players in South America that may want to play Final Fantasy XIV past the, the critically acclaimed 60 levels of free trial. The subscription cost isn't adjusted for local exchange rates, and it becomes kind of prohibitive. Like just getting consoles down there is ridiculous. But even things like this, like a $15 sub here, okay, it's $15. It's not $15 when you do all the taxes and conversions and everything down there in Latin America or in South America. And so they asked are there considerations for kind of regionalizing the subscription costs? And I kind of guessed the answer to this one before I read it. And I was pretty correct. He was like, we can't really do that. Like he kind of backs off and says, I can't give you a definitive answer right now. But I have a feeling the answer is going to be no, Tark. Even if it was investigated, because there's so much that goes into that. Like, if they do it for this, then what is the argument for Square Enix not doing it for the next physical release of X, or the next digital release of Y, or the next Z product that has a sub? Square Enix might not want to do it as a whole. Maybe they're willing to do it for Final Fantasy XIV because they think the return on investment would be there, but then you have no argument going forward for not doing it. So it opens up, I think, a bigger can than they really want to open right now.
Yeah, you open up a Pandora's box for, well, you did it for this. Why can't you do it for, you did it for X. Why can't you do it for Y? And then it's not just one region. Then you have to talk about all regions. You did it for South America. Why aren't you doing it for Australia, who also has a higher exchange rate? So they really can't do it. It would be nice if they could, but that's just too much for them to handle, not to mention all the legal issues that they talk about in the article as well.
So if you haven't been watching lately, and I don't know, maybe not being a WoW fan, you don't really consume Bellular content, but a lot of higher audience World of Warcraft streamers lately have been dabbling or checking out Final Fantasy, right? And Bellular has been checking it out too, and some of the team from the channel. They've been having multiple videos about it. Today, he put up a video that I thought was as well done as you can do on this particular topic. And I don't know if either of you saw it. It's not in the show notes here. I'm using it to segue into our next interview because it's kind of right on message with his video. And it was basically like, hey, Blizzard needs to be more cognizant of its competition. You can't keep ignoring your competition anymore. Blizzard in the past used to jump on their competition, right? Like as soon as Overwatch basically destroyed Battle.Right. I mean, just basically annihilated it by jumping on its release date and all of that stuff. And in expansions past, World of Warcraft has done the same. And so he kind of put forth the argument that with Blizzard's changes over the years, they are destined to be overtaken now by Final Fantasy XIV because they've stopped watching their competition. There's also sites out there that already report through a lot of estimation, disclaimer, a lot of estimation, that Final Fantasy's player base and numbers and active player base is higher than WoW. It already has been taken. We knew this a month ago. I purposely didn't bring it to this show because there is a lot of estimation in those numbers. But I don't disbelieve that they directionally are accurate. I just maybe question the numbers themselves.
Yeah, and to be fair, in those reports, they're also separating WoW Classic and retail WoW. So
yeah, they do break them apart. On the flip side, if you look at YoshiP, Square Enix, and Final Fantasy XIV, by the way, there's room for both, so please stop those stupid arguments. I could tell you there's room for both. On the flip side, YoshiP and the team at Square Enix behind Final Fantasy XIV have basically taken the other way, and much to its success. With this very, very flattering headline for World of Warcraft from a PC Games interview, YoshiP quoted as saying, "Without World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV's recovery wouldn't have been possible." We talked a little bit about that specific question on Snowbound, our Tuesday show for Blizzard and World of Warcraft. There's a couple other things in this interview that I do want to talk about on this show, but I don't think there's any argument there, Tarkoth. As a Final Fantasy XI player for so many years, when 14 was announced, all I wanted was, hey, give me World of Warcraft systems in a Final Fantasy skin. Like, that is what I wanted when version 1 came out, and it obviously wasn't that when it came out.
Oh god, no, it wasn't.
But that was my mentality. Dude, I can't wait. I love Final Fantasy XI. I'm still playing it, but I would love to see newer systems, newer World of Warcraft-like systems in a Final Fantasy skin. So I 100% can see this being the mentality of how this system gets saved. To read his full quote, "If there was no World of Warcraft, which is a game we look to as a great mentor of sorts and respect deeply, Final Fantasy XIV's strong recovery wouldn't have been possible. The original Final Fantasy XIV was a failure of unprecedented proportions, and I was entrusted with the duty of salvaging it. When taking the lead to relaunch a failed project, I don't think you can afford to have the type of game you'd like to create in mind as your motivation. But I was playing World of Warcraft and used that as a form of study. I deployed what I learned through the various teams, and together we used that in development. We really didn't have the luxury of bringing our own likes and dislikes. The main thing was that I wanted the game to be more story-driven MMORPG. There was a strong influence from Final Fantasy XI behind this, But with this being a Final Fantasy game, a strong story was naturally a must. That decision wasn't due to my personal taste, but because of the title's standing in the Final Fantasy series. I don't think you get a better compliment if you're Blizzard or World of Warcraft than that.
I fully agree. They had to do something. They were saving the game. They had to use references. They had to find stuff that was working from other sources, because what they put out was an utter garbage train wreck. Getting from one place to where you want to go and take 10 minutes in one zone was just awful. They had to make changes. And WoW was the king of the hill. So I'm with you. I wanted 14 to be Blizzard in a Final Fantasy skin. What came out with 1.0 was just awful. So it's a tremendous compliment that they took from Blizzard, the best that they could, and made it into what we know today.
In typical YoshiP fashion, though, Kronos, he doesn't stop there, right? The compliments keep coming to other things. He's asked the question, MMORPGs today look very different to classics like Age of Ultima and EverQuest. Looking at Final Fantasy XIV as well as your competitors, how has the MMO genre had to adapt and innovate to capture changing player interest and attitudes? And I won't give you this entire answer, but I think it starts off with a very, very awesome quote. I think the only, this is from YoshiP, I think the only MMORPGs that could be considered equal to Ultima Online would probably be Lineage and EVE Online. But it's my personal opinion that there hasn't been a role-playing experience that's surpassed the original UO. Though these works have a special place within the MMORPG genre, and there's still demand for them even now. But that demand is by no means great enough to support a large-scale MMORPG project because they need a lot of role-play skill to play effectively. If we could prepare a profitable business model, I'd love to take on the challenge of developing such a game. Interesting thought there.
He's entitled to his opinion, I guess. Even if I don't necessarily agree with it. I think he just is very nostalgic for the game. There's nothing wrong with that. We all have games like that are like that to us. But like that model, like he's saying, for like I think what he's trying to allude to is like that model doesn't really work nowadays.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It wouldn't function. It wouldn't make enough money. There's a reason things are the way they are in current MMOs. So
he's just very complimentary, just extremely complimentary.
He even compliments one of my near and dear favorite arts, EverQuest, calling that a masterpiece too. So I was like, oh, yes.
I like that he talks about here, too, that he has a team that is just their job to play other MMORPGs and report back to him things that they are doing in-game that may be good for the Square Enix team to keep in their mind going forward. What are players liking about X, Y, and Z games? What are they not liking? And let's avoid those pitfalls or mix things in. These are all things that Blizzard of old did. Right? Yeah. I mean, we used to joke about it on Game Breaker and on other channels where it was like you'd see a Guild Wars 2 feature and you'd be like, yeah, that's going to be in World of Warcraft in 3 months. Yeah, I mean, that's just because people love it so much, right? They don't really do that anymore, and maybe it's to their detriment. But I don't think Bellular is wrong, Kronos, saying, hey, you know what? I love you. You're doing some things wrong right now. And I think you really need to start keeping an eye on your competition because you're falling behind.
I mean, yeah, that's something you should always do, right? Like, yeah. I make a lot of analogies to like when I play a lot of fighting games, and it's like that's what I do in fighting games. If like there's people better than me, or like with a character that I'm playing or something like that, I'm definitely gonna watch their matches. I'm definitely gonna see what they're doing and then implement what they're doing into what I'm doing. So it's like should be something that you just do. I don't see why you wouldn't. Kind
of like that. Just being in business. Like no matter what your business is, you need to be aware of what they're doing. Like maybe it doesn't help. Maybe something else is going wrong, but you should be aware. YoshiP talking to the PlayStation blog. The big takeaway from this is the only reason you have Bunny Boys there, Tarkoth, is because the artists made it their personal project in the limited spare time that they had. So you can
Yes.
thank the Square Enix artists for Final Fantasy XIV getting bunny boys.
Yes, they are very dedicated to this game. They fit it somewhere in that 36-hour schedule per day that they have. So kudos to them.
Well, HR is calling right now.
HR is calling. But the dedication, they're showing it. There was not supposed to be any sort of accessories for the head or eyeglasses. They took the time to do that. They took their time to make the male Viera. They're going to do female Rothgar. They love this game. I love them. Big happy family, big hugs. Kumbaya.
Yeah, and YoshiP Kronos was just going to sit on it. He was like no,
adamant.
I'm done.
So I've seen from like some community members a little bit of pushback here, and I kind of agree with them. So I just want to throw this out there. Like when the Ultimate thing came out, and they were talking about people using their spare time to like put extra time into the Ultimate, and like YoshiP was like, no, we're not doing that. And then like a lot of now, granted, it's two different departments.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say
the
only problem I had with the argument on that one that I saw was that this is entirely two different business entities and departments.
I think he might want to come out and be a little bit more clear on what he means by downtime, because I think there's going to be people that take it the wrong way. Because like, you know, if he truly means like downtime and it's like within their work week and they're like spending that extra time that they would basically be doing almost nothing to do this, no one's gonna like even bat an eye.
That's kind of what I inferred from the wording, though, because his wording is, however, there was a significant amount of people around the world asking for male Viera and female Rothgar, which was expected, of course, but I was going to follow through with my stance of not adding any more playable races.
Yeah.
At the same time, our graphics staff on the development team, so a very specific team, the graphics team on development, wanted to explore all options to see what they could do to figure out a way to somehow realize this request from the players. They spent over half a year using what free time they had in between their normal work on the patches to consider ways to add another playable race. And from there, they determined, hey, we could probably do one in the Endwalker launch and then the other one later.
Yeah, and that's how I took it too. And I think that's like, from what you just said, I think that's pretty clear. I think a lot of people are misinterpreting it.
Yeah.
And it feels bad when you're on the other side of the fence, and when you see a lot of other people, you're also like running into the issue too, where like male Viera, as much as I like maybe not like it as much, because I really like Ultimate. Like Ultimates are my thing, right? I love having Ultimates, but like that's gonna appease way more people.
Yeah.
Than an Ultimate. It's just true. It's just a fact. So, but you know, I understand where the other people are coming from too, but I hope he like maybe comes out and just kind of states that like very clearly. I think it's pretty clear in this article though.
Jason says, good thing Ubisoft doesn't make the game. They'd say men are too hard to animate. Remember when there was no female character or the female, you couldn't be a female in one of the Assassin's games initially? That was, females are really hard to animate. They're really hard to animate.
I think the big takeaway is you got to really realize that there's, you know, you have your 8-hour, 10-hour, whatever their work day is, and now you're taking some extra time, maybe an hour or two of your own personal time. You're off the clock, and you want to do this for the community, for your company. And then there's, okay, we need to spend extra time. We want to have overtime and put some extra time into Ultimates. So there are two very different things.
Well. So I would argue
I didn't get the impression though. I didn't get the impression though that this was any like off the clock work.
I got the
maybe.
Yeah.
I got the impression that this was more like the graphics design going into a patch. When their graphic design is done, their workload starts to slow down until the next patch's initial development is queued up and sent to the graphics design to start development for. That's what I looked like. The natural ebb and flow of that department in those ebbs is where I envisioned them working on this,
because
not in like extra time or anything like that.
Because the way you put it, Tark, honestly, to me, both those things are overtime. Like I know you put it two different ways, but both of those are after hours work. And that's the reason why he shut down the Ultimate. So if that is true, like then there's going to be like some friction there. But if it's like what Mike's saying, which is the way that I interpret it, also, I don't think there's an issue. I just think that I hope he comes out, because I think there is a small part of the community, the raid community, that's still upset.
Oh, 100%.
Maybe not right. Like at this point, you know, it's kind of blown over a little bit, but there's still people out there that are upset. I would like them to like ease their pain, I guess, like more because I think they're upset. They're like, well, you got time for male bunnies, but you don't have time to make my ultimate raid, like that kind of
Right.
thing. And
And
which is not
this is
fair.
where I was thinking it was more like the Ishikawa thing, where she's done for the day, but she's still got things in her head that she wants to put down, and so she's doing it on her own time.
Maybe. I'm not saying I have like inside
Oh.
knowledge. I'm just saying that's not the way I read it. I read it as
Sure.
in their downtime between patches type deal.
And that could be the way
maybe.
it's going.
The gamer reports,
they're all working from home.
Yeah, talking to YoshiP that hey, he just thinks 5G. That's that's pretty much the end of it. Forget it. Home consoles, they're dead. They're dead. 5G cloud gaming, that's going to be the next wave, and it's going to pull people away from console gaming. I mean, this is after the Stadia basically failed, but I don't. Maybe it'll get better. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with him. Like,
Yeah.
I get what he was talking about here, that 5G and cloud gaming and being able to stream gaming can take things more mobile, and you still won't necessarily leave Final Fantasy XIV, but you might play it on something more mobile, and that's going to be the future. No longer sitting down waiting for a console to boot, things like that. I just don't see it. I'm an early adopter for all of this stuff. I have my Stadia right up there, and yeah. I still nope. Let me just boot up the PS5. Let me just boot up the PC. But apparently YoshiP thinks, hey, yes, we're enjoying a lot of growth right now. COVID has certainly helped that. However, I think this is still where we're going to go in the future. And I just think we have tried this so many times, Kronos, and it just keeps. Oh, now it's going to be. Oh no, not yet. Few more years. Infrastructure is the huge problem, particularly in the United States. It doesn't matter how cool Stadia or Amazon Luna is or whatever. Infrastructure becomes the main problem at a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, and then also like when you're talking about just like beating out, like let me go up the street and get a PS5 really quick. How's that going to work out for me? It's not. I mean, they're nowhere. So like, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's dying down anytime soon. I think it's going to be a little bit before people get comfortable with that stuff. Like for me, like the Stadia, like when it came out, I was like, which is kind of what he's comparing it to. It's just, I don't know. I run into the issue where like I don't trust latency when it comes to a lot of stuff like that, which is another whole thing, which also comes back to what you're talking about with like infrastructure. Like all that stuff has to be in place so that everything runs properly. And I don't think we're there yet. I just don't. So I need to see more stuff. I'm glad he's like looking toward the future and thinking about that stuff, but I need to see a lot more of that stuff before I believe what he's saying here, to be honest.
I agree. Last interview with YoshiP, this one from Gamer Escape. Again, we hit the mail Vieira, we hit the world or the data center travel and the world visits and, how one led to the other. We hit the usual notes here. But I did save this one for a very particular reason because I thought something that we talked about when we did the live reactions, Tark, with Happy and Sly, that we were like, whoa, I can't believe they just did this way. This is crazy. We're doing, because we even said it on stream. Oh, yeah, don't worry, guys. Probably in a week or two, there'll be emails going out, giving everybody notice, just like they've done in the past. And that wasn't the case. We were sitting there doing the stream, trying to pre-order our damn collector sets.
We were live. Like, I gotta get it.
Right. Yeah, so Gamer Escape did ask, with previous expansion releases, players often got a heads up for when they could pre-order the collector's edition. Was there a reason that didn't happen this time around, and are there plans to make more physical collector's editions for those players that weren't able to secure a pre-order? YoshiP says, first, I want to apologize that we were unable to keep up with the large demand for the collector's edition. We had initially planned for our fan festivals to be physical events, but as each one was canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic and having to pivot to one single digital event, it led to this misstep. With the FanFest 2021 now one single event, we were heavily focused on the promotional aspects of the event, trying to make a big splash with major Endwalker news and also announcing the beginning pre-orders for the title while all of our fans were tuned in. Looking back on it, that goal was the impetus for pre-orders starting so suddenly, and it was a big learning point for us. I do want to note, we have continued to carefully consider the quantity of our physical collector's editions based on the quantities and sales from previous expansions. However, the recent influx of players greatly surpassed our expectations, which resulted in a shortage of supply over the great demand for collector's editions. Unfortunately, it takes a very long time to produce all the different merchandise items and figures for the CE, and we tried to readjust the allocation globally, but every region was at their capacity, and we were unable to add any more stock. We hope that you can understand, and again, I would like to give my sincerest apologies for this. So if you are on the waiting lists for these, don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. Looks like there's not going to be much of a stock coming in after this. And I'm amazed that he didn't get this question somewhere else yet. I'm amazed that it is weeks after they have sold out, Tark, that we finally get this type of answer. There's nothing in that answer that doesn't inherently make sense to me. I don't think it's, PR speak. I think he's being legit. We tried to do some mapping out of numbers. We thought we were going to have enough. We even budgeted for a surplus of people coming in from COVID and everything, but we didn't budget high enough for how many people we thought were going to go after the expensive CEs. And yeah, we tried to make this one big event. Hey, boom, it's here. We're announcing it, and you can get it today. And that was a mistake.
I don't know. I think it could have been maybe a mistake on the other end. If this last year has not taught us anything, is that scalpers will scalp anything that's got a potential to make them some money. So putting it out suddenly eliminates that scalper potential, in my opinion. I'm glad I got one. But yeah, I kind of go back and forth on this. I'm not sure how I feel about it totally. I'm glad I got one.
I bet. I mean, I am too. Kronos, what do you think?
They were never going to be able to make enough, right? That's kind of my opinion.
I mean, they're definitely going to sell out because they're not going to overproduce.
Right.
But they were done within 12 minutes.
And Tark brings up a good point. If you time it, right? If you do a time drop, which is what every known demand company tries to do now, scalpers are going to eat you alive. You can try all you want. There's always going to be smart people on both sides, and they're going to get it. So dropping it suddenly, honestly, probably gives the community more of a chance. As weird as it sounds, I think that's actually really true what he's saying. So I mean, it was going to sell out regardless, right?
No doubt, no doubt.
So I think the people that are kind of upset that they didn't get it, I mean, I feel bad for you, but there was always going to be people that weren't going to get it. It's just, it sucks. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But it's I'm still trying to get a PS5. It's
if you're on the waiting list, I mean, condolences. It doesn't sound like there's much coming in after that. I will say this on this same topic though. In one of these interviews too, and I highly suggest checking all of them out. I've given their sources as we go. He does talk about advertising the game and how they actually pulled back and scaled back advertising during COVID. While they were enjoying this player increase, you would think, let's put out a new commercial, and he actually talks about how purposely they scaled back because they thought, you know what, we're getting new people to check out the game. There's no reason for us to look like we're trying to capitalize on a pandemic where people are sick, people are dying. Just tremendous interviews all the way around. And I kind of thought about that. I was like, you know what? I am now seeing more of the free trial advertisement now than I did when the free trial was actually announced and for the months after that, and that's Google would be throwing it at me the number of times I type in FFXIV on this damn computer, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I can definitely see it. Mad respect.
Also, you got the community, right? You either die in ARR or you live long enough to advertise the free trial.
But you flip it though. If they had an expansion during that year, they would be still having to promote it. So maybe they lucked out in their promotions because they didn't have an expansion to push out.
Maybe.
Unlike another game.
In other Square Enix news, We now have previews up for Neo, The World Ends With You. I know this is one that, Kronos, you've been looking forward to. We have Rebecca Valentine's preview from IGN scrolling below. It's a great preview talking about how it's a lovely balance of the old and the new, the puzzles, the combat, the running all over the map on Shibuya and just exploring and finding rare things. Are you still excited? Is this still a day one pickup for you, Kronos? Where are you?
Yeah, this is still going to be a day one buy for me, for sure. Yeah, I've been wanting to play another one of these games for a while, so
yeah,
I'm excited to finally play one.
There's a lot of changes that Rebecca talks about too in going from 2 screens to 1 screen. That there's quite a bit of revamping. Now, Tark, I don't remember. Did you ever play the DS one?
I own it. It's over there somewhere. But no, I've never actually played it.
Is it still sealed on your shelf?
It might be. It might be.
I can't even make fun of you. I still have shit sealed on my shelf too.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very pretty. I do like the art style. I do like the additional puzzle type stuff that's going in there. Rebecca is somebody that when I watch her stuff, for the most part, she seems to be like in line with my interests. So if I have her recommendation, I'm not huge on the franchise. So, but I will pick this one up. Also, a big oof, gentlemen, a big oof,
a big oof. Feels bad, man.
This does feel bad. Like I don't. Yuji Naka, Sonic's original programmer. Not only has he left Square Enix back in April, and we're just really finding out about it now, but is considering retiring. This on the heels of just how poorly Balan Wonderworld did. Yeah. Tweeted out, I can't talk about the reason now, but I hope I can talk about it when the time comes. This is translated through Google, of course. Saying that he left Square Enix in April. And at his age, 55, may retire. That's a bit of a weird sentence, I think. Because I would like to contact the median users, I can't talk about the reason now, but I hope I can talk about it when the time comes. Like, I hope this isn't like an illness situation. I sincerely hope not. Like, I would rather it be Square Enix said, that failed so hard, you gotta go, than an illness situation. But it is sad to see, like it or not, whatever you thought of Balan Wonderworld, Yuji Naka is a legend, Kronos. Nights into Dreams and Sonic, and I mean, there's no doubt video game Hall of Fame material. Balan Wonderworld not going with him to get there. Certainly isn't going with him to get there. And 55, that is young. That is young.
Man, if I can retire 55, I will. Though, I'm not gonna lie. If he can do it, man. But yeah, like he's definitely in the Hall of Fame, man. Sometimes your career, your last couple years isn't the best.
Yeah, let's remember that Michael Jordan came back after a break.
He had
with
those
the
years
Bulls.
on the Wizards. He played on the Wizards. Those that exists.
Yeah, we don't talk about those.
But yeah, I mean, he'll still go down as a legend. It's unfortunate, like the whole situation, and it might, like, for me, I think if it's an illness thing, I feel like he'd be allowed to talk about it. It sounds more like an NDA type thing to me.
I think so.
Like maybe it's something with Square. It's unfortunate, but man, more power to him if he could retire at age 55, and just most people are gonna forget about Balan Wonderworld. They're just gonna talk about like Sonic and Knights, so it'll be fine.
Oh, Square is making sure you're going to forget about Balan Wonderworld. You can't get the demo anymore. Like, you can't. Yeah, Brett Favre did have 3 retirements. You're right.
Yeah, you can always come back. Yeah, there you go.
Don't bring that up. That's
it's sad, though, because I wanted Balan Wonderworld to be good. Like,
Me too.
I thought the art was incredible. I loved that art style. I thought the animations were very, very well done. They were very high quality. Then the game itself was just
gameplay was just very stale.
Yeah. I mean, when you're a little platformer and the jump is floaty, yeah, you're in trouble right off the bat. All right, so we speculated last week, gentlemen, about some E3 stuff when it came to Square. We got a little taste of exactly what they're planning to do. Now, they did say in that announcement, this isn't everything. We do have some oohs and ahs moments, and we talked about, are we going to see Final Fantasy XIV? We're probably, I can't imagine a world we don't see something about Forspoken with that just 6 or 7 months away now. We're probably going to see Endwalker, but, we know about a new Final Fantasy with Team Ninja. Like, will we see that? Final Fantasy Origins. We talked about that on last week's show. If you want our opinions, go ahead and check that out. But we got conflicting rumors from leakers here that generally both have pretty good track records when it comes to this type of stuff. According to Reset Era leaker Navtra, Final Fantasy will be present at E3, whether it's during Square Enix's presser or elsewhere. However, a verified leaker on the forum, SAS Liquid, noted that fans shouldn't expect any big Final Fantasy news. Now, big news is, of course, subjective, so, I don't know, a new Final Fantasy XVI trailer might be big news to you, but with no information besides a trailer, maybe it's not big news to somebody else. So which of these two leakers do you think is closer to the truth, Tarkoth? Do we get big Final Fantasy news, or do we not get any big Final Fantasy news?
I want to say that there is going to be Final Fantasy news, but it's going to be not so big. Maybe just some trailers. I would really like some more information on Forspoken, but that's not Final Fantasy news.
Right, yeah. I think you're definitely getting Forspoken. It's too close to release not to.
With the leak of Origins, I would like to see that, but I really want more 16. I want a release date.
Yeah, I don't think you're getting a release date.
I
don't think you get that. Would be big news. That would be
something
big
on
news.
7 Remake.
Yeah,
7 Remake news would be nice.
Yeah, I hope. Oh God, Medic, I hope you're wrong. That it's not like, yeah, here's Final Fantasy news. Here's where our mobile titles are doing.
Yay!
Kronos, what do you think? Which leak is closer to the truth?
I mean, so to me, like if we get new trailers for those games, that's big news to me. I'm kind of feeding into like the Origins rumor, and if we get a new game, even if it's like a spin-off title, that's still kind of big news to me. So I'm gonna side more with the first one. I think we are gonna get something semi-relevant. Like I'd be shocked if we don't get a 16 trailer that's new. Maybe like some of the old footage, but like new footage too.
Yeah, kind of like what they do with the initial teaser trailer of 14 and then the full trailer for 14 type deal.
Yeah, it's been, 9 months since the initial trailer came out?
How has it been that long? Something like that, I guess.
It's been like
that's
8
crazy.
or 9 months.
So, yeah, we need something new. I mean, I don't think we're going to get any Remake Part 2 news as much as I'd like to see it. I don't think we are. But I'm kind of feeding into. I keep hearing a lot about the Origins thing, so
I'm
hoping that rumor's true. And if that's true, I mean, a new side game, that's big enough news to me.
I'm done at that point. That signs me up for big news.
That's a winner.
Yeah, it crosses the big news threshold for me. A DQ12 reveal makes sense, though, right? Like, if you watch the way they revealed previous games, you get, like, the hero reveal trailer, and then you get the trailer for the game. Like, we should see a hero reveal, right? All we have right now for Dragon Quest 12 is the logo.
Yeah, we just have a logo. But, we also just have a logo for, like, Metroid Prime, right? That's going on, like, 3 years now? But I mean, yeah, maybe they're ready. Something tells me they're not. I feel like they would have shown something a little more at that big Dragon Quest thing, right? Since they were celebrating it. So, I mean, I would probably side with we're not going to see much more of it, but maybe we do.
How about this counter argument? Devil's advocate, though. They purposely trimmed the big Dragon Quest 12 title from the 30th and 5th anniversary because they were going into E3 and not intending to reveal a lot of Final Fantasy news.
Could be true.
Oh, okay, there you go. I want to see something in the form of.
You just put that tinfoil hat on right now for you.
Yeah, right there.
Right there.
Give me some art style. Give me something so I can get a feel for it. A theme of what I'm supposed to be expecting, because the logo looks pretty dark and
and we do have confirmation that it's going to be darker and more adult, but we've also heard that on other things and whatever. Also expected new from last week, Avengers expansion news. Yes, we know they're going to talk about that. We know Outriders is out as far as expansion talk. That kind of just makes sense, right? We talked about even Outriders publicly saying on Twitter, we're not even thinking about an expansion right now. And frankly, they shouldn't be.
You should be patching.
Here's a nifty, weird piece. Square Enix renamed the Final Fantasy mobile games. So with the mobile releases of some of the older Final Fantasies 4 and 6 and whatnot, they have relabeled those. Instead of just being Final Fantasy whatever, they are now Final Fantasy whatever 3D remake. Clearing ways for maybe the original 2Ds to come online and get them mobily. What do you think, Kronos? Maybe?
I don't think so. I think we might be reading too much into this one because I mean people have referred to those as 3D remakes for a long time. I don't know why they just decided to do it now. So maybe there's something there. But if you want to give me like a port of the PSP versions of those games, I'll take those because the Final Fantasy like 4 PSP is like still one of the best versions of that game, and the only way to play it is on the PSP. So you want to put that on mobile? I'll take it.
Or think it's paving? Is it paving the way for new products, Tarkoth, or is this just? Hey, the colloquialism has been used for so long. Let's put it there officially so you can find it when searching.
Maybe that's it. I would love to see, we talked about, I would love to see 6 remade, 2D, 3D, HD remake like Dragon Quest 3.
Well, that's a different beast. I don't think that's...
Make that happen.
That's a totally different beast. You just went off the rails, man. That's not even the topic.
So I want it. Give it to me.
I'm
just glad they're using that engine, I guess.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it might be just to differentiate so you know what you're getting. So if you're getting Final Fantasy IV, you're
right,
not
but
getting...
you don't have to differentiate to anything. That's the only product that's available. That's why the speculation is maybe there will be the original 2D versions coming so that you have this 3D remake differentiator between two products called Final Fantasy IV.
Yes, exactly. I concur.
So you think they are going to release something like the original 2D version?
I hope so.
All right. How do you feel about Final Fantasy VI done in like an Octopath Traveler type engine?
I don't know if we've ever thought about that very much.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever heard your opinion on this.
It sounds like a good idea. I've never heard that brought up before, but
HD remake, we remaster. Let's get on that.
3D HD remake.
I don't know. Yeah. You think about it for a while and you let us know.
Okay.
You let us know.
Maybe next week I'll bring it up.
We'll see. Nobody check Tark's Twitter. No, don't look at that. Just because he's never mentioned this before, ever, not once. Speaking of the mobile front, though, if you want to, or if you were lucky enough, some people have been in the closed beta testing for the first Final Fantasy, the First Soldier. This is the free-to-play mobile battle royale. Credit where due. This is from Android Police, author Matthew Schultz. And it's just kind of like, yeah, it's fun. It is PUBG with a Final Fantasy skin. Except there's, AI enemies around the map as well. So some showing some footage, and credit, this is Matthew's footage. 20 minutes of gameplay. I probably made it through. Not to say anything about Matthew and his footage or anything. It's very high quality and all that, but I probably made it through 5 minutes, Kronos, before I was like, yeah, I'm done. He was pretty positive about it. It wasn't like he was bashing it or anything or saying, oh, it's just PUBG and a skin. He was like, it's PUBG and all the good and bad that goes with that. It looks fine. It plays fine. Here's some unique little features about it too. But to me, it's just, yeah, I'm going to try it because it has the Final Fantasy name, but I do not intend to have this be something that is installed on my phone very long.
Yeah, more power to you. I watched 0 minutes of this.
And you were prepping for a show that you knew we were going to talk about it.
I mean, I was already my answers were prepared for this shows ago. Like I don't care about this game. It's just like, I mean, it has the Final Fantasy in the title, which is great, but it's just Who asked for this? I don't understand. Maybe I'm just confused. I'm still
Square
confused.
did.
Passion project.
Yeah,
It's
Square
a passion
did.
project.
They were
So,
like,
like-
"Hey, let's put something Final Fantasy VII together that'll make a little more money."
Yeah, because it's like you. Yeah, you were talking about people lucky enough to get to the beta. I'm lucky I'm not in the beta. I'm totally cool with that. But yeah, I mean, more power to people that enjoy playing it. It's just not going to be for me. Yeah, so I'm really not going to follow this one like at all. Really, I'm sure we'll talk about it on here more than this, and I'll probably give you the same answers then.
To answer Jason's question, he asks, worst battle royale IP, Final Fantasy or Vampire the Masquerade? That's because on MMO Bomb today we covered Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt, announced at the Summer Game Fest, a Vampire the Masquerade battle royale. That, however, is for PC. That is not mobile. I mean, maybe it'll have crossplay at some point, but it's a PC title at the moment. So which is the worst battle royale IP, Tarkoth? Final Fantasy or Vampire the Masquerade? Both franchises I absolutely love. I have my new additions back here for the Masquerade.
I'm gonna have to go with Vampire. I actually kind of enjoyed Final Fantasy First Soldier.
You played? Did you play?
Yep. I got in 5 matches, won 3 of them. I feel like a pro. So,
oh my god! And you liked it?
Yeah.
But
It
you
was
said
okay.
you said you had a gripe with the application thing.
The controls are real janky. Getting to aim twin stick on your phone it doesn't feel all good. I like a controller in my
Matthew's review said, or preview, I guess, said the same thing, that the controls need a little bit of work.
Controls need a little bit of work. I've had enemies disappear on me that I was attacking. I've been running around, and it's an auto attack with your gun. So if you happen to have an enemy that you're just happen to walk by, and it's putting your crosshairs, you automatically start shooting. You're like, what the hell am I shooting at?
What? Wait.
That sounds terrible.
What?
That sounds terrible.
It is pretty bad. It sucks. Like, why am I using my ammo?
That is stealth mechanics taken to the max. Like, oh no, you see an opponent? No, you're not hiding. You're just fucking opening fire.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't.
You put someone in your crosshairs if you have a gun equipped, you're shooting.
Like, does it do it even if they're out of range of that particular weapon?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
I didn't test that.
I mean, small favors, I guess, at this point.
We
are this close from it being an autoplay battle royale.
It's to simulate turn-based. They're supposed to feel like you're in a Final Fantasy game.
That is terrible. That can't be. No, they seriously auto fire.
And maybe that's a setting. Maybe that's a setting that I didn't dive too much into the settings. I wanted to kind of get in, see how it felt.
That sounds
maybe
so
it's a
horrible.
Setting. It is kind of bad.
And yet you still pick that Vampire the Masquerade is the worst of the two battle royale IPs.
Clearly, you see my bias for Final Fantasy. There we go.
I guess.
I did like the spells and how they all had kind of their own use. Blizzard was like a turret. Arrow had a nice knock-up and dazed your opponent. And then Gravity Demi was like a root. You held someone in place. So they had some cool variations on what you can expect from spells. But it was okay. It needs a lot of work, though. It needs a lot of love.
It ain't going to get it.
Oh, okay.
Like, if you think remotely they're going to put any real development time into this anymore, like, I don't have any hope for this project. None. I will check it out. I'm not checking it out in beta. I will wait until launch. That way, when I'm critical of it, it's because they put it out.
I will play it on Blue Text when it's
Final Fantasy is the worst of the two. I would rather play a Vampire the Masquerade Battle Royale. What about you, Kronos?
Can I pick neither?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, you can just say that they're both the worst.
I'll just go neither. Yeah, battle royales just aren't my jam, really. Like
they're not mine either. Yeah. Last up, Intergrade launch has happened. Remember, if you are a Final Fantasy VII Remake owner on the PlayStation 4, you can do the upgrade to this for the PlayStation 5 at no cost, so you can take advantage of the graphical improvements and stuff. But remember, the Yuffie additional stuff, you still have to buy that separately as an individual DLC package. For those of you that never bought Final Fantasy VII Remake, then I can't really think of a better pack for you to buy, particularly if you're on the PlayStation 5, then getting this one and coming with the Yuffie stuff as a brand new purchase. I, of course, will be upgrading to the PlayStation 5. I don't think I'm going to buy the Yuffie DLC, at least not yet. I don't feel, Kronos, I kind of feel like you do, that it's going to be so long until Remake Part 2 that I'll catch this DLC on sale down the road. I'm not really in a hurry to grab this one. It is kind of annoying, though, that you have to have both of these things installed for the save file transfer. That's kind of annoying and is a lot of memory if you're doing this on one system. That's annoying to do that cloud save, uploading from one and downloading into the other. But I will get the integrate upgrade for the PlayStation 5, but I'm not doing the Yuffie. Where are you on this one, Tark?
I was going to download it as soon as I was done here.
No, I mean,
now you're making me feel bad.
No, I mean on the Yuffie purchase.
Like I said, I was going to download it after we were done here, but now you're making me feel bad.
Why?
Like,
Why am I making you feel bad? Just because I'm going to wait for a sale.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Yeah. Fine, I'll wait. Jeez.
You don't have to wait. I don't care what the hell you do. I'm just in no hurry to do it. I got plenty of time. And I love Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis just came out.
I know. I was going to...
I'm still doing all kinds of shit in like 9 other games. This can just wait till it's on sale for me. Don't feel bad, man. You do whatever you want. You do you, boo. Go ahead and buy it.
I'm just making you feel bad.
I'm not feeling bad. Fuck you.
Okay.
I don't care. Kronos,
I'm downloading as soon as we're done here.
Kronos, how bad do you feel right now?
I don't really feel like I'm missing out on much by not having a PS5 for this game. I've already spoiled myself. I've already watched what happens because I know it's going to be a while before I get to play it. So yeah, I mean, so the DLC itself seems to be about like 3 to 4 hours long. It's not super long, which is basically what I expected. But you do get some new stuff, and the game looks prettier, and it is a very good game.
Yeah.
So like, worst case, you're just getting an upgraded version of a game that's very, very good, which I would like to play, but I'm not gonna go spend $1,000 on a PlayStation 5. I'm gonna wait and try to get more closer to MSRP.
Sounds good. Let's slide over and do Love It or Leave It. We're going to get a little contentious today, folks, I think. Love It or Leave It. This is our final segment of the show every week. This is where I pick something Square Enix related, whether that be an individual game, a whole series of games, a press release, an event, whatever the hell I want. Could be a feature in a game. From Square Enix's portfolio. And we round the panel here, deciding whether you love it, you want more of it, or you can do without it, so just leave it. Now, we mentioned the mobile 3D remakes. Those tend to be a little bit contentious, depending on who you talk to, particularly one over the other. They're not all created equal. And then when they've ported them back into Steam, the contention gets even a little higher on some of those products. So, gentlemen, starting with you, Kronos, the mobile 3D ports of older Square Enix games in general, not one specifically, because, again, some are better than others, just the way they have gone about it as a whole. Love it or leave it?
So, I think all those issues you brought up are valid, but I'm going to go with love it. I enjoyed playing, 3 and 4, those 3D remakes a lot when they first came out. I wouldn't have gotten to play Final Fantasy III here if it wasn't for that back then. So just on that alone, I'm gonna go with love it. I still enjoy playing both those titles the way they are, but I also like playing the original 2Ds too. I just like all those games, so more of all of them is just a good thing for me. So I'm gonna go with love it.
Tarkov?
I'm gonna go with leave it. I think the remakes take away from some of the charm of the 2D versions. I could not get into Final Fantasy IV, my most beloved Final Fantasy, with the 3D remake. It wasn't the same. I appreciate that 3 came over in it the way it did. I got to play it and finish it. I would have liked to have played it in its original state. So I'm going to leave it, and yeah.
So you heard it here first. Tark does not want Final Fantasy VI to be remade in any way. No way, no engine. I'm actually going to agree with Tark this week. I'm going to leave it as well. And yes, a little bit of it is the same thing that Tark said about the nostalgia side of it. Like, I know what Final Fantasy VI looks like. I know what Final Fantasy IV looks like. It don't look like that. A little bit of it is that. But more for me is just the execution I thought was all over the place. Like, and for me, it's not a big deal because I can whip out my PSP. I can whip out my PlayStation 1 compilation discs. And if I want to, I can whip out the cartridges and put it in my, Retron and go. Or, hell, break out the Super Nintendo or the NES itself and hook it up there. So I still have the capability to do those. I do appreciate them being maybe a little more modernized for an audience that maybe is younger than I and wouldn't give a game that looked like that if it came across their Steam page a chance. And the 3D maybe sold a few more people, brought some more people into the fold. I can certainly appreciate that. But for me, I think I'm going to leave it. So let us know what you think in the comments below. Love it or leave it, the 3D remakes for older Square Enix titles. Chat, make sure you don't go anywhere after the show because we will not be shutting the channel down. We'll, in fact, be going into a stream with Miss Faye Death. How are you, Faye?
I'm well. How about you guys? We're just getting the party started.
I know. We're just kicking the evening off. What are we doing tonight? What are we streaming?
We are back with the 3 murder tiers, and we've got some primevals to take down in Diablo 3 again.
Oh, I thought you were doing...
Yeah, we're so close.
Did I have
I was thinking about it, but we got so close to the next, big thing.
Oh, got you. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, now I want
do Overwatch or Apex or something this week? I don't remember what it was.
It was going to be something different, switch it up a little bit. But then we got so close that even I'm like, I want to know what happens next. So we kind of changed our minds by the end of the stream. So yeah,
That's
more murder looting.
More power to you. Diablo 3 coming live, Faye. Hang tight. We'll turn it over to you in just a moment. Chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us today on the Relic Grind here on Ready Check Radio. Remember, subscribe, follow, do all those things. Faye will be live about 20 seconds after we go dark from this show so we can reset the stream stuff. And you, chat, you can hang out with her and Tarkoth and Yod, our resident artist here. And we'll be back, of course, with this show next Thursday, but don't miss Snowbound on Tuesdays and Gaming Gumbo on Saturdays. This Saturday, we'll start kicking off the E3 coverage for the first day and then wrap it up the following week. So a lot to do over the next 7 days here. We hope you'll join us for all of that. We'll see you next Thursday. Until then, Kronos, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, same as always on Twitter. I'm trying to get now I got to get to 160. It's the next goal.
And he's not talking Twitter followers. He's talking mounts, people.
Always mounts. So I only measure in mounts. When I get when I go to the 7-Eleven, I pay in mounts. I don't really bother with dollars.
Right. How much is this jerky? 2 mounts. 2 mounts.
but I might fire up my stream tomorrow for Guilty Gear. We'll see though. I haven't really decided yet, but I might be playing some Guilty Gear tomorrow.
Nice. Tarkoth?
At the Twitters, doing the tweets on at Tarkoth Gaming, twitch.tv, Tarkoth Gaming, and also here on Ready Check Radio, Saturday and Sunday nights.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at MagicMan1, but more importantly, follow at RC Radio, RAIDEO, and come join us live sometime we're doing a show. We'd love to have you and all your friends. Hell, bring your mom. She's welcome too. We can all hang out and talk games. Until next week, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the server.